Today we're going to be talking about education in Norway. Rude. Specifically, 5 facts about education in Norway that you need to know. The Barnehage system, I know and feel in myself that it is very, very good and very beneficial. You can learn more about that here, I think. I did a video on like Norwegian kindergartens. You can go watch it here. But I'm interested in learning a little bit more about just the education system in general. Let's just jump in.
According to the World Happiness Report, which was commissioned by the UN organization Sustainable Development Solution Network, Norway is the country with the happiest population in the world. It leads not only in the Happy Planet Index rating, the country...
Oh my gosh.
In this episode, we'll analyze 5 facts about education in the country with the happiest population in the world.
I think that's changed now, hasn't it? The happiest country is Finland, right? It is Finland. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it had changed to Finland. Unfortunately, it's not us here anymore.
Kindergartens, ordinary and quite not. Children start going to kindergarten in Norway from the age of 1. They don't come there all at once, but in turn gradually, so that the educator can take responsibility for the adaptation of a new child and give him enough attention. Nutrition in kindergartens in Norway, as in many other European countries, is quite different from what we know in CIS. There are no soups and porridges familiar to us here. The so-called matpakke boxes with lunch, which include sandwiches, yogurt, juice, and cookies. Often lunch takes...
The sandwiches don't look like that, let's be clear. Matpakke is very much just like smørbrød, right? Which is a piece of bread with some type of spread on it. Usually it's like baconost or skinkeost, which is like a cheese and bacon spread, or it's like butter and a vegetable of some sort. And I'm pretty sure most of the time the Barnehage will give them 1 meal a day. And then you send a meal along with your child for like a snack or something if they're going to be staying at the kindergarten until later in the day, basically. He was showing very delicious looking lunches, and it's not that intense here.
Takes place outside in the fresh air, and since a lot of attention is paid to sorting garbage in the country, kids are taught from an early age to throw out garbage correctly. In Norway and Scandinavian countries in general, they spend a lot of time walking in the fresh air. In warm and good weather, children have a quiet hour on the street. In general, Norwegian kindergartens differ little from other European ones, therefore...
This video seems a little bit weirdly written. I don't understand, but they don't spend an hour on the street. They spend an hour outside, I think, at least. It's super important to Norwegian children and like the Norwegian culture, basically, to be outside, which is, to me, something that is very, very different from culture in the US. It's not so important, or at least I didn't get that impression. It's like, yes, you have PE and you have recess and playtime outside, but you don't have this like core value of nature and being outside and that being important culturally.
One state kindergarten in Oslo has gained particular popularity, Fagerborg, built according to the project of the Norwegian architectural studio RRA. On the outside, at first it may seem that this is an upside-down house. It is believed that such an unusual structure stimulates the creative development of its pupils. City of Tromsø also has its own unusual kindergarten. When the authorities announced a competition for the creation of new preschool institutions, they did not impose strict requirements on design, style, and format. Now, kindergartens in Norwegian Tromsø has a whole bunch of mazes with tunnels in bright colors. There are no doors in them. The rooms are separated by round holes in the walls of different sizes, and some of the walls can even be moved. Thus, the contrast change of the situation does not let children get bored and makes them constantly generate new ideas and games. Economics in elementary.
That's interesting. I think that in the US, like, it is a thing, of course, to understand that about children and children's environments, that if the environment is fun, like it's developmentally going to be good for them. Like you said, you're not getting bored in your environment. You kind of have this brain stimulation that can only benefit the growth of the brain. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be very wrong. In the US, that's not being implemented at like a governmental level. In the US, that just wouldn't ever happen, that they would be looking at children's brain development and changing it on a countrywide level. It would very much depend on the amount of funding and money that a school has. I mean, in general, we don't have Barnehage in the US at all. You have Daycare, which is essentially the same thing, but it's extremely expensive. And most of the time it's just going to be bare bones because it's expensive to run and it's expensive to send your kids to daycare. So those kinds of things just aren't really thought about unless you have a very rich population around it, because then that area is able to fund those things. However, here in Norway, it feels very much like those things are just considered normal. The governments get involved in making sure that the younger generations have just really good base for life and education. I don't think that that is considered enough in the US. I think it was in this video where I talk about Norwegian athletes. There was something about an initiative for kids to be in sports, and like up to a certain age you have to be in a sport or something. It just has to do with creating a young generation that is going to be well developed, I think. And in the US, we have this strong feeling of just individuality, which is not a bad thing by any means. I think you should. But it's almost to an extreme where you're almost afraid to get into other people's business or like start these initiatives of kids should be outside and they should be playing because it's good for their brain development. We should be investing money in this part of education, and we should be making kids be in team sports while they grow up, because in the US people will be like, you can't make me do that. What do you mean? I decide what's best for my kid. And in an extent, yes, of course, but isn't it nice to have that kind of funding and base underneath you? I think it is. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent there.
Elementary school, lottery exam in high school. Norwegians go to school from the age of 6. At this time, children are taught not only to write, count and read, but also to get acquainted with the plant and animal world. And they also teach students to communicate not only in your native language, but also in English. In addition to mathematics and the native language, religion and economics are also studied here.
I understand the English thing, right? Because English is like a universal language or whatever. So yes, I understand learning English. I wish that in the US we were required to learn another language from the age of 6, from being so young like that, because why wouldn't you? That just sounds so beneficial. And to learn a language in the US like Spanish or French would be so beneficial to society, because we have those countries that border us that speak French and they speak Spanish. So why not embrace that and just like require the fact that you learn another language? It would only benefit your society. That's something that kind of haunts me a little bit, because you are required to take a foreign language credit when you're in high school, or at least I was. And I took Spanish, but you're only required to take 2 years of Spanish. So basically, it's up to you then after that to continue on with that. But imagine implementing that into just regular curriculum, having to learn Spanish. Like, you would just be so much better off in life, in general.
Is monitored by a commission. If a child has problems, an individual plan is made for him to solve educational problems. By the way, academic performance is discussed one-on-one with the child and the parents. In the secondary school from grades 5 to 7, some new subjects are added for children, among which you can find home economics. Here, children learn to run a household as a whole, cook, engage in everyday life, learn competent budget planning. High school starts from the 8th grade. Profile subjects are already...
You have that in the US too, home economics. It's a subject there, but it's not required, and the video didn't specifically mention if it was required or not, but I feel like it would be super beneficial if it was.
Already being added here. After graduation, they do not take any final exams. More precisely, they pass, but it all depends on luck. There is a so-called examination secretariat of Norway which selects students who will take the exam blindly. Whether the student will have to take the exam or not, he himself will find out 2 days before it. The exam can be assigned to one or two of the following subjects: computer science, mathematics, economics, English.
Wait, what? That makes no sense.
8th grade. Profile subjects are already being added here. After graduation, they do not take any final exams. More precisely, they pass, but it all depends on luck. There is a so-called examination secretariat of Norway.
This video is weird. I don't think that's true at all. I'm pretty sure you take exams because it's like a thing here when you're in high school and you're graduating, that the dus stuff, that you are like doing dus while you're supposed to be taking exams. So I'm pretty sure they're definitely taking exams. I don't know what this like randomly choosing children is. Maybe some of you Norwegians in the comments can help clarify that for me, but I have never heard of that.
Folk schools. When a student finishes school but does not yet know what he would like to do next, he can enroll in the so-called folk school. There are about 80 such educational institutions in the country, and they are located mainly outside a city. Each such school has its own specialization, and within a year or a little more, students acquire specific skills here. Folk schools do not give the right to work, but they give an advantage when entering a university. For the first time, such schools appeared in the middle of the 19th century and gradually became widespread in Western European countries, and especially in Scandinavian ones.
So, from what I understand, these types of schools, you're still like high school age, I'm pretty sure, but you can choose whether or not you want to specialize in a certain area. So they have like media schools, I think. They have electrician, plumbing, things like that schools. They have like general education schools, which I feel like this video is trying to get that idea across, where like if you don't know necessarily where you want to specialize, you can go to these general education schools and kind of get the tools you need to decide what you want to do later in life. Okay, excuse the way I look. It is an editing day. We're gonna do a little comparison because I think it's kind of confusing for people who are from the US. I'm gonna do Norwegian school system, US school system. Norwegian school system starts with primary school, which is barneskole. Says this lasts for 7 years, 1st to 7th grade. I'm gonna do the US side based on my schooling. Of course, you have elementary school, which for me was kindergarten to 5th grade. So basically 6 years there, whereas this one is 7 years. Lower secondary school, ungdomsskole, says this lasts for 3 years, 8th to 10th grade, where I had middle school, which was 2 years, 6th and 7th grade. Now we are here. We're basically at like a high school level in Norway now. Here, after 10th grade, kids can choose where they continue their education. So this like splits off in two. You can take a general studies path, and this lasts for 3 years. So they have like one more year than kids in the US, really. Or you can go this way, which is vocational education and training. This path leads to a trade or a journeyman's certificate and usually lasts for 3 years with a mix of school-based and in-service training. From my understanding, general studies, you just do school, basically. Or you can choose to go to a vocational training where you will learn a trade. Over here, after 7th grade, I went to junior high because the area that I lived in had a lot of students, so they had to separate some of the kids from high school because there was just too many kids. After I went to junior high, I went to high school, which was 10th through 12th grade, where in a usual US high school, 9th grade would be included in high school. And then I graduated high school and I could apply to college, right? Hopefully that clears it up. It's definitely the same amount of school years because we have kindergarten, which I forgot that counts. So we do have 13 years, where Norwegian also has 13 years.
The best Norwegian universities. The University of Oslo is the oldest university in Norway, founded in 1811 as the Royal Frederick University. It is the leading university in Scandinavia. 5 Nobel Prize laureates have worked at the university. Fridtjof Nansen, Peace Prize; Ragnar Frisch, Prize in Economics; Odd Hassel in Chemistry; Ivar Giaever in Physics; Trygve Havelmo in Economics; Ragnar Tarnquist, a developer.
It's a weird video. I don't like this little voiceover, but we will continue.
Education in Norwegian universities lasts from 3.5 to 4 years.
Which is similar to the US. US universities are 3 to 4 years to 5 years, depending on how you do or what you're studying, of course.
The system of education in Norwegian universities. In the CIS countries, we're used to getting grades from 2 to 5 for the exam. In Norway, there is a 6-point rating system, which is expressed in letters from A to E, where A is the highest score and F is the lowest. There are also...
Okay, so what I think he tried to get across there is when you're in grade school, you're getting grades on like 2 to 5, right, is what he said. Or it probably depends on your school as well. And then when you go to college, it's A to E, he said, but A to F is what we do in the US. It says F here, literally on the screen. It says F is the lowest, so I don't know. We're just gonna think that he said A to F, I guess.
In many universities in Europe, there is almost no chance of being expelled. Failed subjects are automatically transferred to the next year. In Norway, as in Russia, there are 3 attempts for each exam. If a student fails at the 3rd attempt, he also has the option of rescheduling the exam for the next year. Admission to the exam is granted only if the student has attended at least 20% of classes. Therefore, it cannot be said that visiting here is strictly mandatory, but still you will have to attend a certain number of lectures.
That's interesting. The university system in the US is kind of similar. It's a little bit different in the sense where it's more up to your professor on whether or not how much you need to be in class and how you can take the exams and stuff like that. And you definitely fail. If you fail, you don't get the credit, right? You don't get chances to retake the tests unless your professor gives that to you. It's not really standardized. You can have one professor that's super chill and is like, nah, just come take the exam, and if you pass, that's great. If not, then you know that you need to try harder next time. Or like I had some professors in college that were huge sticklers for attendance, and like if you missed a certain number of lectures, you would automatically just fail out of the class. So yeah, which is intense when you're paying hundreds of dollars to take a course. So yeah, it's very individualized in the US. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you want to become a part of this little community that I have here on YouTube. There is a join button down here somewhere. I have channel members now, so you get some cool exclusive perks like a Discord chat where you can help me decide what videos to watch or plan videos. Eventually there will be live streams, hopefully. I just need to find the time and figure out how to do it. You get early access to videos and all that kind of stuff. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.